Okay, so we'll be going over the concept of percentage composition, right? So percentage composition जो है, it's a relatively easier concept. We'll be going over two more concepts. One is percentage composition, and then we'll go over the concentration. ठीक है? They're relatively both very easy as compared to percentage yield and percentage purity. So we are through the hard part of the class. So percentage composition जो होती है ना, it's like wait. So percentage composition by mass shows the proportion of each element in a compound as a percentage of the total mass, right? And it helps us to understand the relative amounts of elements which are present in a compound. So for example, if you have let's use another example this time. So for example, if you have um, let's say if you have calcium carbonate, okay? If you have calcium carbonate, and let's say you have 100 grams of calcium carbonate, right? So 100 grams of calcium carbonate. So if you want to know, कि अच्छा मेरे पास ये calcium carbonate का, I have this powder of calcium carbonate lying on the table, right? I have this powder of calcium carbonate lying on the table. What percentage of this powder of calcium carbonate is calcium? What percentage is carbon? And what percentage of this 100 grams is oxygen, right? So that's how you calculate the percentage composition. And the formula for percentage composition by mass is mass of that element divided by the molar mass of the compound. Okay? So let's go over an example. So the question is, calculate the percentage composition by mass of oxygen in calcium sulfate. सही है? So let's calculate the percentage composition by mass of oxygen in calcium sulfate. So the first step is to know what is the individual atomic masses of all of the elements which form calcium sulfate, right? So we have 40 grams of calcium. Calcium's AR is 40 grams. That's you just copy it from the periodic table. We have 32 grams per mole of sulfur, and then we have 16 grams per mole for oxygen. What is the molar mass of calcium sulfate? So you just add up these numbers. So 40 plus 32. And since you have 4 atoms of oxygen, so you multiply 4 by 16, and you add them all up to get 136 grams per mole, right? This is the molar mass of calcium sulfate. What this molar mass means is that if you have 1 mole of calcium sulfate, that would weigh up to 136 grams. That would weigh equal to 136 grams if you have 1 mole of calcium sulfate, right? So the question was to calculate the total mass of oxygen in calcium sulfate, right? So mass of oxygen in this, the molar mass of oxygen in this molecule is 4 times 16, that is 64 grams, right? So you just divide 64 grams by the total molar mass, and then you get the percentage composition of oxygen by mass, that is 47.06%, right? So that's pretty simple, right? So now we know, okay, what is the percentage composition of oxygen in calcium sulfate, right? So what if I'm told that I have a 50-gram sample of calcium sulfate? पता नहीं क्यों करता है, लेकिन I don't know. I have 50-gram sample of calcium sulfate. सही है? And I want to know what percentage of this 50 grams is oxygen. How will I do it, Rafi? How will I calculate? Is 50 grams of कितने percent is oxygen?
First of all, we will find the molar mass of calcium sulfate, which is calcium 40,
जी है,
sulfur
लिखेंगे साथ
32, and oxygen G 64, 136.
में.
And the mass of oxygen individually is 64. So we will divide 64 by 136 and multiply by 100. So we will know how much percentage of oxygen is used in calcium sulfate.
Okay. And what if you have 50 grams of calcium sulfate? अगर मैं कहूँ कि 50 grams है calcium sulfate का, so how much of this 50 grams is actually oxygen? I'll just take 47.06% of 50, right? I'll just take 47% of 50, and that way I'll get the mass of oxygen. समझ आ गई?
47.06% of 50.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? That's how you calculate the percent composition by mass.